G'day and welcome to the GameDay Squad Fantasy Cricket Show. I'm Stu, that's Dyl, and we are the Fantasy Bros. Thanks everyone for tuning in once again as Dyl and I preview everything Aus Cricket related before round 10 kicks off with the all-important qualifier between top of the table Hobart Hurricanes and the second place finishers Sydney Sixers. Dyl, round 9, the regular season, it's all in the books now, and we're at the business end of the season now, down to the final 4 teams. We had a washout to start last round. That obviously didn't help a number of coaches. How did your squads end up?
Yeah, g'day, mate. G'day, viewers. Thanks again for tuning in. Only 2 shows left, so we're looking forward to this one. As you said, that washout did not help my team. I did go in with the strategy of playing no Sydney players, and then mid-stream live on air, I made some changes to my squads and went against that strategy, and obviously the end result was a pretty horrible week. A bit of a shame. Jack Edwards started off that game really well. He looked like he was set for a massive score after his first 2 overs. Bowled that maiden and then a wicket in the second one. So it's a bit of a shame, but ended up as a donut across all of my squads, unfortunately. So I slipped a bit further away from prize card territory. Hopefully you went a little bit better.
Yeah, I did, mate, but you certainly weren't alone. I know a lot of people in the Discord were saying that they put in a lot of Sydney Sixers players as well. I put in Steve Smith across all 4 of my squads. I had Jack Edwards and Benny Dorsius in 1 or 2 squads as well. And yeah, Jack Edwards was off to a flyer. What a shame that game couldn't continue. I'm still hovering around prize card territory in the starter comp. So that's my main focus now. I did finish 8th in champion thanks to a couple of late pods after the Smith debacle. So Still a couple of weekly prizes and that sort of thing, but the main aim for me now is the seasonal prize. And I think that's a good time to mention to everyone that they can still win weekly prizes, even if they aren't in contention for any season-long prizes. Maybe they started late, maybe they want to start tonight. They can still win some weekly prizes as well. And there's plenty of prizes up for grabs, including money and some packs as well to pack some brand new players. Challenge Dyl and I on the weekly leaderboard if you want. Get your mates involved, and all they need to do is simply sign up using the promo code FBAC24. That'll give them a free 3-player rare pack. They might even want to save that for next season when the player pool is updated and use some cards next year. So make sure you use that code FBAC24. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us during this live round 10 preview. Fire through your questions. Make sure you let us know if you've got any 50-50 decisions, and we'll try to give you the right answer, but we'll probably more than likely give you the wrong one. Dyl, what's in store for today's show, mate?
Yeah, and just before we jump into that, I did say on the Discord there might be an opportunity for anyone who fires through some questions to win a live pack opening. So definitely get your questions in, and we'll get to as many as we can. And if you do, you might get a chance at winning that pack, which might be pretty important going into the next couple of games. As always, we're going to jump through the review of the top scorers for each position from last round, and then we're going to jump in and preview the final 2 games. The 2 final games for round 10, looking at the relevant GDS players, and then we'll also reveal who we're playing in our champion squad and why. And then, as always, we've got our Bro Down Showdown at the end, our favourite part of the series, where we go head-to-head, selecting our top scorers from each position. For the upcoming round, we'll have a look at how we went last round and see who came out on top and wins that pack. And then we'll also have a look at our round 10 players. And as always, there might be a little way for our viewers to score a pretty cheap player through that Bro Down Showdown. So let's jump into our top performers. Do you want to kick us off there?
Yeah, we'll do, mate. Yeah, we had a great game finally from Jake Fraser McGurk. I probably played him 2 or 3 times toward the start of the season, and he didn't get a look into my squad since, but he finally showed what he's capable of, and that 132 GDS points was unreal. He scored 95 runs, he hit 5 4s, 8 6s, he got that 50-run bonus. He took a catch in the outfield for good measure. But, I think, was it Bales? Bales played him and finished just about second or third in every tournament. So it just goes to show if you can get these picks right, you can really cash in.
Yeah, and that was, the toss-up between probably Josh Brown and Jake Fraser McGurk. And we talked about Josh Brown probably just being able to do a little bit more based on what he's done this season. But Fraser McGurk, what I liked is in that game, Warner was actually on commentary on the KO side of things, and he was speaking directly to Fraser McGurk while he was fielding, and it sounded like they have a pretty good sort of mentor type relationship there, and he was talking through, pushing past the lack of runs and what that looks like. And then obviously Jake came out and had a massive game. So that was pretty cool to see live on screen. In terms of our all-rounder, we've talked about him for the last couple of weeks. Maxwell, again, just went out and did maxi things, really, didn't he? He scored 76 runs, hit 5 fours and 6 sixes. Obviously got that 50-run bonus. And then he took a bunch of catches in the field and got that catch bonus as well. So we can always rely on Maxi to take some catches and like I said, just doing Maxi things. We also saw him bowl 1 over again, so that might be good signs for the upcoming round.
Yeah, I do think that over was because there was at least one left-hander at the crease, and he obviously likes to bowl against them. So, yeah, the more lefties in the squad, the more likely he is to bowl. But Usama Mir is obviously doing a pretty good job with the ball there in terms of the spinning department. It just looks like the Stars are quite happy to have Maxi down there at 6. We said, there's plenty of question marks around that, but it's working for them. Him coming in at 5 or 6, pretty late, but definitely taking advantage of that power surge when the field is up, and then he just goes on from there. He's not scared of any boundary in any stadium across the country, and he's definitely cashing in lately. Mate, that name on the right-hand side has appeared again. That's Mark Steckity. He's topped the bowlers once again. Who would have thought? I can't remember him having one good match for the Heat, but he's already had 3 or 4 back-to-back for the Stars. Hasn't he turned back the clock? He took 4 wickets again in this match. He bowled 13 dot balls. He even got a catch as well. He got that 4-wicket bonus. He looks like the elite bowler of the competition, and I haven't played him in my squad once. What's doing?
I think there's a bit of a spoiler. We might be playing him for tomorrow's game. I think, he's been unreal, and he obviously hasn't played the whole season, but he's like you said, he's almost top of the list for bowlers after only a few innings. So he's playing unreal at the moment. We're going to jump straight into our game 1, which is the qualifier, the Hurricanes versus Sixers. And hopefully, as we start chatting through this, the teams will be listed. So as always, if you are in the chat and the teams do come up, be awesome if you could copy those into the chat so that we can bring them up on screen as well. Before we jump in and start looking at that.
So, Chrissy, thanks for joining us, mate. Thanks, Chris. Chris has just asked about a Billings and Philippi question for this round. We'll definitely answer that throughout the remainder of today's show. The short answer is both for Dyl and I, with a question mark around Billings a little bit more. That's a short answer. Stay tuned for the long answer. We don't mind Billings, but we're pretty happy to run Philippi up the top there in our keeper spot.
Yep, definitely. Awesome. Okay, so let's jump into the qualifier. So obviously the final system is a little bit confusing. So the qualifier is the 2 top teams. The winner of this goes straight through to the final. The loser of this will play off a little bit later in the week. So the game is at Ninja Stadium. It is at 6:30, so a little bit later kickoff. And there's a little potential chance of a shower, most likely later in the evening. There are also some light winds becoming south to southeasterly, 15 to 25 in the early afternoon. So hopefully that won't impact the game too much. That rain that could be around, like I said, is a little bit later, so it shouldn't have an impact. Excuse me. In terms of GDS scoring, the average scoring here is actually really low. It's 33.5, which is the second lowest of any venue. First innings 33, and then the second innings about 34. In terms of the key matchup, the Hurricanes allow an average of 35, and they score an average of 35 as well. So pretty even there. Excuse me. The Sixers allow an average of 33.7, and they scored an average of almost 38. So definitely an opportunity to load up on some Sixers players tonight, I reckon. The last game, the Hurricanes allowed an average of 30.5 points, which is actually really low to the Sixers, while the Sixers allowed a massive 45 to the Hurricanes players. A couple of squad news. We talked about it in the Discord a little bit. The test players have obviously departed, so that's Abbott, Murphy, and Smith. So they will not be available for this game, and that'll be a sort of a theme through most of our previews today. In terms of the relevant GDS players, obviously, almost everyone's probably relevant across these 2 games because there are less teams to pick from. I think everyone has an opportunity to be relevant in one way or another. In terms of the bat wicket keeper position, you're looking at McDermott, Jewell, Wade, Patterson and Silky. The all-rounders, Edwards obviously a big name there. Kerr probably gets an opportunity as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Jordan Owen has had a massive few games, so I think most people will be looking to lock him in, and then Chowdhury as well there potentially. And then in the bowlers, Dwarshuis, Allison, and Meredith are obviously really good at the moment, and probably looking at some potentially playing all three in some squads as well. Do you want to kick off and have a look at maybe that bat wicket-keeper position and talk through why you're going to play Flip?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And we just got some news that the Sixers have won the bat flip, and surprise, surprise, they will bowl first, which is similar to what occurred at Ninja Stadium last time, where the Canes batted first and then the Sixers chased. And I think the Canes limited the Sixers to about 111 on that occasion while they were chasing 161. So the Canes have the advantage. They're undefeated at home, but it's a really important game for both sides. Obviously, winning you straight through to the final. You get a couple of days extra off, and you can watch that other match and see who you're coming up against. So we'll get some team lists through shortly. But why am I playing Philippe? Well, I think he's the best bat option for this round, but only just. I think he's playing at a ground that's a little bit more conducive to run scoring for both the first and the second innings. We know at NG Stadium, there's a bit of a contrast between the runs scored during the first innings versus the second innings. So, if you're picking some batsmen playing in the second innings, there's a greater likelihood that they're not going to score as well. So, look, Flip hasn't been in a lot of form lately. He started the tournament quite well. He scored a 35, a 42, and a 66 not. But he's had 4 single-digit scores with the bat in his last 4 games. So for me, that's just meaning he's that one innings closer to a bigger score. And tonight, I'm just expecting that to occur. He's a great batsman. He hasn't forgotten how to bat. He's definitely capable. And because he's playing on a deck, because he's playing in a just about a must-win match, a deck that suits his batting, I think he's going to cash in here tonight. And as well, the Sixers bowling lineup is awesome. They've lost Sean Abbott, obviously, but there's still every likelihood that he takes plenty of dismissals behind the stumps, and he's got at least one in just about every single match, and multiple on a couple of occasions as well. So there's always that little safe floor in terms of Philippe's wicket keeping as well. So when you've got a Flip versus a Wade versus a Harper type of decision for your wicket keeper, I'm just picking the best option here as well. He's got a lapse in form, but he's the type of player that can bounce back and score a big one, and I don't want to miss him if he's going to go big.
Yeah. And I guess I like him as well in that, we've seen James Vince leave, we've seen Steve Smith leave. So we need someone there for the Sixers at the top of the order who is going to play that type of game that they've seen throughout the season. He's probably had that benefit where he hasn't need to go as hard or accumulate as much because they've had those players around him. So I think there's an opportunity here for him to really take this game by the horns, particularly in that second innings. The other thing I like, as you said, is that safe floor. He's got 112 GDS points just from the field. So as you said, a catch in almost every game bar one this season. The other thing is wicketkeepers have taken 10 catches at Ninja Stadium this season, which is the second most behind the stumps of any venue behind the Gabba, which has been 11 wicketkeeper catches. So I think that, like you say, that the deck's conducive to runs, but I think there's also an opportunity for some catches behind the stumps as well. The other thing we've seen is a couple of stumpings, so there's definitely some opportunities there for Flip as well. Ninja Stadium's had 2 stumpings, which is actually the second most at any venue. We don't see it often, but second most stumpings means that there's an opportunity there to just increase that score. So I think he's got a great opportunity to score runs and then also, potentially increase that those points through the fielding.
Yeah, I love those points you've made there. I'm just really interested to see who the Sixers have named in their top order. We'll get that to you shortly. But one guy that we do know will be batting for the Hobart Hurricanes, and one man in my squad is Tim David. Now, there's certainly a risk that he doesn't see enough balls to be competitive or score enough points for your GameDay Squad team. But we've seen just how good he has been at Hobart at Ninja Stadium. In his previous 3 knocks, he's scored 63 not out, 68 not out, and 24 not out as well. He clearly likes the venue. He's not afraid to take on the shorter boundaries, and they sort of save him for the important, the crucial overs, a bit like Maxwell. They'd like to hold him back until that power surge. So if the top order is going along nicely, they can just hold him back and sit him out. But he's a bit like Maxwell in terms of you don't want him facing only a small amount of balls, particularly when you're chasing if you're chasing a big score. There is that risk if the Sixers. They're putting on a total tonight, so they're just going to go as hard as they can, which is far more likely that Tim David will see some more balls in against if they were chasing. So that's why I like plugging him to a lineup since they're batting first. He's sort of guaranteed to be in there somewhere around maybe the 12th to the 14th or 15th over, and we've seen what he's done at this venue in the past few knocks. I don't want to miss out on a big Tim David score. But I am interested to see who the Sixers have named. Someone like a Curtis Patterson or even a Jordan Silk might be a pretty decent pivot, albeit a risky one. But for me, it's Flip, and then Tim David has got a spot in my bat lineup for this match. Are you leaning that way, or have you gone somewhere else?
Yeah, my 50-50 was McDermott or David. I'm leaning towards McDermott at the moment. But just before we chat about that, Mian, welcome, mate. Thank you for joining us. At this stage, it looks like it should be pretty clear. Hopefully, the rain does stay away for the end and we get a full innings. At this stage, the radar looks all right. So hopefully, we will get a full game. Fingers crossed. But remember, a complete game for Big Bash is only 5 overs each. So if that does occur, you still get those points that are accrued through that. So hopefully we get a full game there. Yeah, in terms of McDermott versus David, I guess, my concern is that David doesn't see enough balls in an innings, which, it might not happen. He might come in and have a massive 20 odd, and that's all he needs probably to score a decent total for you. But I think, just before we get team lists, I think at this stage he's probably batting just a little bit low, and there's a potential that, like we've seen a couple of times, he doesn't even get an opportunity to swing the bat and score points that way. He did bowl an over last game, or last couple of games he's bowled an over each, but I feel like that might have been just to a bit of a plug and play while Chris Jordan was recovering, and then just having a little play around with the bowling that last game where everyone sort of had an opportunity to bowl. So I just don't know if there's enough points in him. Obviously, my other concern going McDermott is he hasn't really had a decent score yet. He hasn't looked in great touch at all. It's not the McDermott that we've seen over the past couple of seasons where he's equal with Steve Smith for the most number of tons in the competition. So I think he's averaging 21 runs this season, which is not great. You want more from your bat, but you've obviously got that the thought in the back of your mind that if you can get 30 points out of your bat score, it's pretty good. Anything above that, you're pretty happy with. So I think I'm just leaning McDermott. Particularly the Kane's batting first. He's got an opportunity there. When batting first, McDermott has hit that 68 and the 34 we've seen, albeit he did get out for a duck on in the first game. But I think he likes the first innings a little bit more. So there might be an opportunity there for him to maybe score a little bit more through that first innings. And he did score a 34 against the Sixers at Ninja last time out as well. So he probably, knows what that pitch is doing. He knows what the team looks like in terms of the Sixers. So he might come out and hopefully has that opportunity to have a pretty good game. The other thing that is sort of tough as well is that the Sixers are really good at restricting batsmen. This season, they've only allowed an average of 27, which is one of the lowest across the comp. The batsman coming in at 4, which we'll see in a moment, I believe Ben McDermott is coming in at 4. He's average the Sixers average 41.2 against batsmen coming in at 4. So hopefully that is positive signs for McDermott. And my 50-50 pays off between McDermott and David.
All right, yeah, you've definitely presented a pretty good case for Benny McDermott. He's definitely got a spot in, I think, probably a classic and a challenger team for me. They're the two comps that I've sort of fallen a little bit behind, so I'm playing a little bit of catch up, and I think someone like him, is definitely capable. He's scored a number of hundreds in this comp, like you mentioned, and he's had a couple of down games. So it's your what do you call it? Your little mantra, isn't it? That if they've got 3 or 4 poor innings in a row, that they're bound to to score a big one. So yeah, he's definitely due if we're following that rule. And I guess we can keep saying that every single match that he fails, that he's due the next one. So yeah, like it's flip a coin 10 times, it'll land on McDermott's head 5 and Tim David 5 as well. So for me, it's David, who's probably got that little bit more explosive upside. For me, he fields in some of the bit better hot spots as well. We've seen him get a run out or two and a number of catches on the boundary as well. And they're not guaranteed by any means. And one thing that also scares me is that night that we played McDermott, they were bowling first on that occasion, but he didn't even get to the wicket with his bat because he did his hammy partway through that innings, and that just kills your week if it happens. But no, mate, you presented a good case. We can see the Hurricanes squad on screen there. So fortunately, they're pretty settled in comparison to a lot of the other teams that, the Sixers, the Thunder, and the Stars have all lost sort of at least 1 to 3 players to test duties. But the Hurricanes have been the top team of the tournament, and they're also pretty consistent in terms of the team being named, apart from, of course, that injury to Big Billy Stanlake. But we can see on screen that they're pretty much unchanged. They've got Jordan there at 7, Ellis 8. Gannon is there at 9. I think the opposition team might go after Gannon a little bit, given his relatively inexperience this season, that is. But then obviously Riley Meredith has been pretty good up the top there as well. So for me, mate, in terms of the all-rounders, Mitch Owen is definitely going to get a start for me. Look, he bowled 4 overs last match. He's bowled for the last 3 matches, actually. But again, I wouldn't take too much out of that. They obviously had a mid-game injury to Billy Stanlake. The following match, they only named 4 specialist bowlers and 3 part-timers. And then the last match, Ellis only bowled 1. And yeah, like you said, they were giving a whole heap of people an over or 2. So I wouldn't rely on his bowling, but he's definitely capable. He's shown that, and he's gotten a couple of wickets in a number of his matches as well. But for me, it's just the power hitting that he shows at the top of the order. He's not afraid to take it on. He also likes to score a cheeky single off the 5th or the 6th ball to guarantee he's on strike for the start of the next over. And that's what you love from your big boys at the top of the innings who like to go nuts in the power play. Yes, it can bring about his undoing, but he's been pretty good of late. He hasn't really had that massive score since that 100 earlier on in the season, but he has gone 38, 44, 24, 13, 37, 33. He's striking at 186 for the tournament, which is second behind only Glenn Maxwell. So those numbers read really, really well when there's a chance that he can bowl an over or 2. And like David, he also fields in some hot spots as well. We've seen him get a run out. We've seen him take 2 or 3 catches in a couple of matches. So for me, this is one of maybe the easier picks for me, just given his upside and maybe the lack of all-rounder options that we have. But mate, I presume you're going Mitch Owen as well?
Yeah, and just on those catches, I'm full steam ahead on Mitch Owen, and there's some really good reasons why. Just on those catches, he's actually had a bunch of catches, and the thing I love about that is that it just shows. I think he's had 8 catches in 9 games. It just shows his true all-rounder ability. We've seen him bowl those last 3 games. We talked about him earlier in the season, saying that he's someone that we just don't want to look at, because he only had that one-dimensional play of batting at the top of the order. There's too much rocks or diamonds there in terms of just one good cherry and you're done. But he's really come out and shown in the last sort of few weeks, and albeit there's been some injuries and some other things going on in the team to allow that opportunity. But he's come out and shown that true all-rounder and demonstrating that he is a 3-dimensional player, and he is pretty good at doing those things. He's pretty good at bowling. He's had 9 overs from potential 12 in the last 3 games. And yeah, you're right. The Billy Stanlake injury was massive. They had to fill that on the run. Chris Jordan was out of the team, but even when Chris Jordan was back and they were playing around with bowlers, he still had that opportunity, and he's still bowled a number of overs. So look, they've gone in. What have they got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've got 5 genuine bowlers, if you count Chris Jordan as a genuine bowler. So I don't see a reason why they wouldn't give Owen an over or 2, just to really solidify that he can score some GDS points for us tonight. So I think, yeah, I'm all over Owen for all of those reasons, plus the big one being that there's just not a huge range of options. I think his opportunity is greater than someone like Chris Jordan, who bats a little bit deeper in the order. and is probably not needed if Tim David comes out and has a massive swing. And Chowdhury, he just doesn't seem to be taking wickets as often or as consistently as I would like from his sort of role in the team. I like what Chowdhury's doing with the bat and how he's been pretty consistent there, but he sort of gets a bit of a start and then plays a bit of a silly shot and gets out pretty cheaply. So, yeah, I think for me, Mitch Owen is the key for the all-rounder position.
Yeah, mate, we clicked go live 15 minutes later this evening because we only had 2 matches to get through, and we're 20 minutes away from start time, and we've spoken about 3 players. So I reckon we get a bit of a move along. I just put the Sydney Sixers team on the screen really quickly to show you that their bowling lineup seems, no lack of respect to the names on screen there, but it's not a very good bowling lineup compared to what they've sent out in the past. With the likes of Abbott and Jackson Bird as well, and Akil Hussain, who ties down at the top of the innings as well. But so that just speaks, excellent for Tim David, McDermott, Owen as well at the top there, who are likely to take advantage of a pretty decent bowling attack in terms of being able to get on top of them. So, mate, we've spoken about a number of Canes. Let's talk about some Sixers players. And for me, I love the role of Jack Edwards. We can see there he is named at 3 with Curtis Patterson opening. And for anyone that wants to take a bit of a pod shot, I think Curtis Patterson might be suited to these conditions, and you might want to go him as an option. I think he might be in a challenger team for me. But for the Sydney Sixers, for me, it's all about Jack Edwards and Ben Dwarshuis. I love the role that Jack Edwards has coming in at 3. He bowled that opening maiden in the first over against the Thunder last match. He's also really good in the field as well. I can see this is a match where he's really required with the ball, looking at that bowling lineup. Particularly when, Mitch Perry, I don't think he's played a match all season, has he? And so he's going to be relied upon even more. And he's all very damaging with the bat as well. Benny Dwarshuis batting there at number 7. We've seen what he can do with the bat. We're not relying on batting points for him, but he's already got that 24 and that 30. He's also got a 5 not out in a small amount of time. So he's reliable when he needs to be. And he's definitely a wicket taker as well. And they're going to look at this bowling lineup and they're going to put a lot of ownership on Benny Dwarshuis and Jack Edwards here to be the leaders along this pace attack. So I think they're 2 pretty easy lock and loads for me, with plenty of batting upside amongst the 2 as well.
Yep, I'm exactly with you. I co-sign that. Ninja Stadium's seen 52 wickets taken this season. 31 of those have been from fast bowlers. So obviously conditions are a little bit more conducive to the fast bowlers. The Canes have also allowed an average of 30 bowling points. That's just for bowling points to quicks this season, which is almost 20 more than that of spin. And last game between these 2 teams, Jackson Bird did all the damage. I think he scored 101 GDS points. Obviously, Bird's not there. Abbott's not there. So Dwarshuis has got a lot to shoulder, and I think Edwards has probably got a lot to shoulder as well. So I think there should be some big games from both of them. So, yeah, I'm locking them both into my squads, and I think I have them pretty much across all of my my squads, I think, all 4.
Are you playing a Canes bowler?
I am. It's the same thing every week. It's a debate between Meredith and Alice. For me, I'm leaning towards Meredith because the last couple of weeks I've lent towards Alice. So I'm going to go the other way. Ninja Stadium, Alice has taken 2 wickets from 4 games, whereas Meredith has taken 10 from 5. So I think Meredith enjoys the pitch a little bit more than Alice. The other thing that we talked about as well is Alice is not necessarily looking to bowl to take wickets as often. I feel like the wicket-taking balls are more where Meredith comes in. I guess the downside is Meredith, it doesn't offer anything with the bat, and we've seen Alice already accrue 80 runs across 3 innings, and he's done it in pretty quick fashion. So that's the downside of not playing Alice. He will find his way into a couple of my classic and challenger teams, but in terms of my champion side, I'm going to lean Meredith, and I'm pretty happy to have that sort of 50-50 and look, if it doesn't come off, it doesn't come off, but I'd rather have that opportunity where he could be a little bit of a pod potentially, unless people are looking to play both Alice and Meredith.
Yeah, and why not? Double up on the two key wicket takers for that team. Meredith will feature in two of my teams. Ellis in two. It takes the guesswork out of it. So if one of them does well, you're bound to do well in two squads. And let's hope they can both get amongst the wickets. But yeah, Ellis with the bat when he's been required has been really handy as well. Mian, we spoke briefly earlier about Josh Philippi. We both liked him, and we were going to play him in our wicket keeper position, but. Dyl, if there's nothing more that you want to cover for this game, we might go on to the Thunder and Stars game, and we'll talk a little bit about Billings. So maybe that might help Mianji with his wicket keeper decisions. So game 2 is the knockout game. You've got to win this game to go forward. You lose, you go home. So they'll play the winner of the Thunder and Stars will play the loser of tonight's fixture. We're at NG Stadium at 6:30. There is, similar to tonight's game at Hobart, there's a medium chance of showers sort of developing in the afternoon and evening. It doesn't look like it's going to restrict any overs in this game whatsoever, but certainly something to look out for, with the Sydney weather of late. We don't want to be caught out, so maybe some of us are going to be loading up a little bit more canes and sixes. But looking at Bomb, it doesn't look like we should miss out on any cricket tomorrow night. Fingers crossed, of course. The average GDS score has been about 34 points at this ground. It's the third lowest, so really close to, similar to Ninja Stadium. But the key difference is the first innings. They're averaging about 37.5 points in the first innings for GDS and only 30 in the second innings. The average with the bat is 160 in the first innings versus 135 in the second innings. So to me, that says we're looking at batsmen in the first innings and not the second innings, and maybe a couple of bowlers in that second innings where possible as well. The Thunder allow an average of 35 points. They score an average of 35. The Stars allow 37 and score an average of 36, so pretty close there as well. We know that Constas won't be playing. Webster won't be there for the Stars either. They're both off to Sri Lanka with test duties. There's probably fewer options here in terms of who we're going to play in our GDS squad. So I think we will go heavier in canes and sixes, but we've definitely got Warner and Billings to consider for our wicketkeeper and bat position. There's a couple of really handy all-rounders in Curran, Maxi, Stoyne and Green. We've also got a couple of handy bowlers that we might want to plug in, particularly if they're bowling in the second innings. And our man Steketee is probably high on everyone's list. I've seen a number of cards of his go up on the transfer market and be bought and exchanged as well. So I think Steketee is going to be a pretty well-played player. But there's also blokes like Nick Andrew or Tanveer Sanger from the Thunder that could go really well in this match as well. Dyl, we don't have too long. I don't want to miss out on any deliveries this evening. So let's go through who are you playing in your squad and give me a couple of reasons why. Let's start with your bat and wicketkeeper position.
Yeah, so the two key players from this game that I'm playing in the bat wicketkeeper position is Davey Warner and then Sam Billings as well. So Mian, hopefully that helps answer your question. We've already talked about Flip, but I'm also going to run Billings as well. Warner, for me, he's just been in some unreal touch this season. He's come out and just been a completely different player. I guess one thing we talked about at the start of the season when we talked about Warner and his potential is that he's got really no other cricket responsibility. And that has allowed him probably to just thrive in this sort of T20 environment where he can play his shots and he can score runs pretty quick, but he can also have that bit of finesse and that touch and look for opportunities to just get that single. The other thing I really love about Davey Warner, he's always looking to push for two. I don't know if you've noticed, almost every time he's run, he's looked to get out of his crease as quickly as he can, even just to put pressure on the fielder. So I really like that he's just pushing. He's reading the game really well, and he's just in some unreal form. And especially with no Constas at the top, I feel like Warner will probably want to shoulder most of that responsibility and try and take the game away from the Stars, off his bat. So for me, it's all Warner, and then following that up with Billings across a couple of my teams. I was on him last week before that washout in terms of Sam Billings, and I'm still keen on him again for really similar reasons. He's still, got that pretty high average of 42.5 across all of his games, which sees him at the top of the list of available wicket keepers still as well. He's had 185 runs, was probably a little bit lower than what he would expect and what we've seen from him in the past. But I still think, of the available wicket keepers bats left, he has the second highest average, just behind his teammate in Warner. So, hopefully he comes out and has another massive game, similar to what he did earlier in the season when he had that 100-odd GDS points. The other thing for me is the Stars have allowed an average of 45 to wicket keepers this season, which has them ranked number 1 against the wicket keepers allowing points. So that's huge. That 130 that he had earlier in the season was against the Stars as well. So another reason why you might want to play or potentially playing Billings.
Yeah, and I think the Thunder could easily roll out 2 or 3 spinners as well, and that's obviously increases the likelihood of some wicketkeeper dismissals behind the stumps, particularly through stumpings when blokes like Harper like to skip down the track and miss a ball by a foot. So that's what comes in handy. This pitch is conducive to spin. The Thunder are likely to roll out 3 spinners. So yeah, I love what you said about Warner and Billings. And talking about spin, I'm umming and ahhing about Chrissy Green. I don't have to make that decision tonight, luckily, so I can have a think about it. It's between him and Stoinis for me in one of my all-rounder spots. Green will relish these conditions here at NG. He took 3 for 13 and he scored 20 not out in his most recent fixture here. He's taken 3 wicket hauls 3 times in 8 matches, but he's also gone wicketless on 3 other occasions as well. He's likely batting at 6, given they're down on troops. They're putting in that extra bowler as a result. He's capable with the bat. He hasn't put together a massive one yet. And look, the numbers point to him going well, but it's the 3 matches that he's gone wicketless, and he can score single-digit GDS points, which is really scary. The flip side to that is Marcus Stoinis, who is almost the opposite. He's doing a lot with the bat, not too much with the ball. He's getting a few overs, but not really taking wickets in clumps like Green can. But it's the combination of Stoinis and Maxwell, during that middle order for the Stars that can really just turn on and put a game to bed really quickly. And, that could really restrict how many wickets the Thunder take, or, how much the Thunder have to chase, and, all that sort of thing. So that's the decision I'm weighing up in terms of my all-rounder spot and my final Thunder player outside of Billings and Warner. I believe you're heading to the Stoinis direction, and it's pretty safe to say we're both playing Maxwell.
Yeah, yep, definitely playing Maxi. I don't think we need to talk too much about what he's done over the last 3 games in particular. The 93, the 130 and the 129, I think speaks for itself. And I think he's just a lock and load. And we can all be disappointed at the end of the round because he gets out for a duck and doesn't bowl. But we all get disappointed together, so it should be fine. In terms of my fourth all-rounder position, my 50-50 there is between Stoin and Curran. We saw TC come back from that injury last game, and he had quite a few games off, and he bowled 3 overs and took a wicket and had 8 dot balls. So it's not too bad from someone coming back from injury. Obviously, the downside is he comes in at potentially 7 or 8 and might not necessarily get many runs. He might not see many balls. He might not even come in at all. Versus Stoinis, who has come in sort of 4, 5, 6, depending on that situation, and he's been able to accumulate runs pretty well. We haven't really seen a massive score from Stoinis yet, and I feel like that's just one bat away. But he is averaging 30 runs this season. The downside is, as you said, he doesn't really get too many overs. On TC's return, though, Stoinis did get 1 over last game, and he did take a wicket with that in that over. So there's still that potential there. And the person that didn't get any overs in that game was Bowie Webster, which we saw a couple of weeks ago. He had all the overs. So yeah, really interesting to see that dynamic there between TC, Stoinis. But I guess that, the big one is that Mark Steckety's taking all the wickets. So there's no need for anyone else to even bother bowling because he's coming out and taking them all. So we talked about at the top of the show, obviously Mark Steckety is someone that we're both pretty keen on for a couple of reasons. I'm probably not that inclined to play any of those sixes bowlers outside of Dwarshuis. I don't really want to play 2 hurricane bowlers in my squad. I just feel like one goes big and one might not. And then in the Thunder squad, I'll post that up on the Discord a little bit later. It's just come through not too long ago. They're not looking that great at the bowler position either. Someone like McAndrew, maybe Wes Agar comes back, but outside of that, there's not a lot. So I think Steckety's your main man. And look, I never thought we would say at the start of the season that Mark Steckety is topping the bowling list for GDS average. He currently on 77 points across all games. And then in just his last 3 games, he is averaging 103 GDS points. So I think it's just a lock and load for Stex. Obviously, the Thunder, like most teams, have allowed more points in terms of an average of 32 to quicks versus a 16 to spin. So obviously, like most teams, they are more likely to get out through the quicks. So Mark Steckety's got a pretty good opportunity. The other thing I really like is in his last 3 games, he's bowled 36 stop balls.
Wow. Imagine being a cricket fan browsing through YouTube and stumbling upon this video and hearing the name Mark Steckety and someone speaking about him for 2 minutes. No, that's not a slip of the tongue, people. He has been on fire. He's taken 2 for 42, 1 for 32, 3 for 14, 5 for 17, and 4 for 24. It's no surprise the Stars have won their last 5 when you see these types of figures. Can he do it again? Who knows? But he's got an average less than 10. He's taking a wicket every 7 balls, and this isn't a small sample size. That's now across 5 games. Yeah. He's in all 4 squads for me. Hopefully the Stars bowl second. I'd probably prefer that. If they don't, I might look to plug a Thunder bowler in 1 or 2 teams just in case, because it's more conducive to bowlers in the second innings. But yeah, for me, it's who would have thought, hey, we're 2025 and talking about Mark Steckety being the gun in our game day squad bowling lineup. For everyone who might have missed some of the discussion earlier or want a bit of a recap, on screen, you can see Dyl and my champion squads as they stand. You can see a couple of differences there. We've spoken about them already. Tim David up against McDermott. Dill's gone for Stoinis there against my green. And he's also got Meredith against my Ellis there as well. So really 50-50 type decisions. But hopefully we've given you a little bit of insight, a little bit of information, and you can go about determining which one of those players you're going to follow and who you're going to stick to your gut with and maybe go against Dyl and I. As always, Bro Down Showdown is always a super tight battle. I think I won 2 or 3 on the trot, and Dill's gone back out in front with a 2-1 victory thanks to his 3 players there on screen. Joshy Brown somehow getting 4 overs, but probably losing points with the ball, given some wides and no balls and not looking like taking a wicket. But he still came out on top of Finn Allen. Maxi, it was unbelievable. And Behrendorff took a couple of wickets there. And Dill's gone up 2-1. So as always, the loser will open up a unique pack. And if anyone's still in the stream, you'll be able to grab one of these cards pretty cheap off the transfer market. So Dyl, let's not waste too much time here. You should be able to see on screen now, I think.
Yeah, here we go.
You've got 2 cards, one for the viewer. Which one are we going to send to the transfer market for 51 cents?
Okay, let's go to the right, please. 51 cents.
51 cents on the transfer market.
Ooh, perfect.
I might do that right now, actually. If anyone wants to get a bargain, I'll try to do that while maybe Dyl is wrapping things up. And Dyl, here are your 2 cards.
Go on.
Oh,
how good.
Wow,
good. Love that.
Yeah, my mind's a little bit blown there. 3 relevant, really 2 relevant players, but do you need any of those cards for your
I do not. I've got those, but maybe chuck all of them up for 51 cents. Go on. You do that now, and I will wrap it up. So our Bro Down Showdown for this week, I have gone that man Philippi and Dwarshus, so that pack hopefully is good luck. And I've gone Maxi, obviously, in my all-rounder, whereas Stu's gone Warner, Edwards, and Ellis. So hopefully I get another win, and that will mean that I go too far ahead for Stewie to catch up. Alrighty, so that does conclude our round 10 preview. Thank you very much for tuning in. Look, good luck with your upcoming round. Plenty to play for still, as we said. We'll come back on Friday the 24th. We'll do another 5:45 start because the game is at 6:30 again on that Friday. That will be the now, what is the name of it? It is the Challenger final there. So that will be the loser of this game coming up against the winner of tomorrow night's game. So plenty to play for. Look, and just before we go, we've got 1 minute. Do you reckon we've got just enough time to open up one pack for someone who has commented on the video tonight? And look, I don't know about you, but he has been in pretty much every one of our streams asking us questions. I reckon Mian deserves a pack to be opened.
I'm happy to facilitate that. Is he still here? Mian,
if you were still here, mate, come on, give us a little shout out and let's get a pack on screen. If he might have gone, he might be ready for the game.
That's right. Like you said, he has been an awesome contributor for just about the entire season. So I'll rip these three and
nice, good.
Mian, a couple of heat players there,
mate.
And a Bethel could be really handy if he gets a contract for next season. How good.
Unreal. So Mian, make sure you catch up with us in Discord and we will get those cards to you. Look, once again, thank you very much for tuning in. We've got one more show to go. Like I said, that is next Friday, the 24th of Jan. Don't forget, still time to sign up and play for, those cash prizes and player packs that you can use next year. If you're still looking to sign up, use that promo code FBAC24 for your free pack. Make sure you get your friends involved as well. Thank you very much. Good luck tonight. Good luck, Stu. We'll talk soon.
Good luck, Dyl. Good luck, viewers. See you, mate.
See you later.